welcome to yet another program as part of the solo edition of Beyond the Present podcast. My name is Daniel Mulligan, and today we're talking about the importance of taking responsibility for your life and stopping the blame game. That's right. You see, guys, when it comes to achieving the kind of results that you want in life, oftentimes you will face with difficulties and situations that somehow take you away from your goal and they stop you from achieving them. And unfortunately, a lot of us have a tendency to simply start blaming others for our inability to achieve those goals. And today, hopefully by the end of this short program, I will help you to stop the blame game once and for all, and instead start taking responsibility for your life and for whatever you have. So let's start with the facts. If right now you are listening to me, the fact of the matter is that you currently are perhaps either very upset about certain things in your life, perhaps you wanted to get something in your life and you couldn't get it, or perhaps you saw your friend the other day and you realized that after 5 years, he actually managed to, run his business or get his PhD or whatever, and you look at your life and you're just like, well, what about me? I haven't done anything in the past 5 years. Or maybe you simply just started some new venture, or you took some kind of action to achieve your goals, but then you hit a dead end and you realized, oh my gosh, all that effort led to nothing. And perhaps you found yourself in a very negative situation or environment that somehow prevented you from achieving your goals. Whatever your problem might be, that you all have one thing in common, and that is generally you are very much more likely to start blaming other people or circumstances or situations in these situations because you somehow want to feel better about yourself, because you tried your best, you couldn't achieve what you wanted, and now you start blaming, oh, you know what? In this country that I'm currently in, I just cannot run a business. Or you know what? That person who just said this and that person is so mean. Because of him, I don't have this. So we all have this natural tendency to start blaming others for the things that somehow have not worked out in our lives. And today, I want to ask you to stop blaming anyone or anything for your problems and difficulties, even if it is actually the other people's faults. I repeat, you see, if you really want to make your life a wonderful life and that you can somehow exert control over your life, then please, for the rest of your life, don't blame anyone or anything for your failures and shortcomings, even if you are right. You might be, well, Dan, I really have a good reason here. I'm blaming, for example, my parents because they were bad parents. Well, first of all, you're now talking about your parents or your family. Perhaps you grew up in a so-called dysfunctional family. But let me ask you one question. Do you know the percentage of the families that, scientifically speaking, are functional? Well, you'd be surprised. Do you know that only 15% of the families around the world, by a scientific definition, are functional? And that 85% of the families around the world, if they were to be, studied by professional psychologists, would be dubbed as dysfunctional. 85%. This means 85% of the world population has grown up in a family that, if analyzed, in depth, would be dubbed as a dysfunctional family. So I'm so sorry. Think of all the people around the world who achieved greatness in their lives. Do you think they blamed their parents for not having achieved what they wanted? The other point, of course, is about the problems and the difficulties caused by other people. You might say, well, I'm not here because of this or because of that or whatever it is. So, as you can see, the blame game never ends, because you can always find someone or something to blame for having basically failed to achieve your goal. And because of this, today we want to help you to stop this once and for all. Because no matter what excuse do you think you have, or what problems and difficulties you've faced with, and how many people or circumstances you can actually, blame for not having achieved that goal, you are responsible for all of it. Maybe your father was an alcoholic. Maybe your mother never showed so much love to you. Maybe your friends can't understand you. Perhaps the schooling system and your teachers were mean with you and they did not help you to grow in a very healthy way. Maybe you really are living in an economy or a country that has so many obstacles and basically hurdles on the path to economic prosperity. Maybe you really do live in a bad environment. But all of these, from my perspective, are just excuses that you try to use in order not to take further action. And more importantly, it's just about either you somehow force yourself to take action on the path to achieving your goals, or you simply start blaming. Today, I want to tell you that whoever you blame for having not achieved your goals, ultimately, it is always your fault. I repeat. You can blame whoever you want for not having run your business the way you want it, not having established your company, not having found the love of your life, not having found the chance to really, build the kind of body you want, or not having learned a foreign language, or whatever it is, whatever goal you have in your life. If you haven't achieved it, it is only your fault, no one else's. And until and unless you understand, both emotionally and intellectually, that you are responsible for your life, no one can help you. No therapist, no father figure, no friend, no teacher, no one can help you unless you start taking responsibility for your life and acknowledge the fact that it is always your fault, even if it isn't. You might be saying, like, well, Dan, what does that even mean? What does it mean that it is always my fault, even if it's not? It means that even if you find yourself in situations where you genuinely faced with some problems caused by the outside world, for example, let's say you get a job and then you realize that most of your colleagues are mean and negative, and that you suffer through that experience and you're blaming those people. You see, I'm feeling terrible because of my colleagues. It isn't your colleagues' fault that you feel negative. Why are you in that company in the first place? Because if you really took responsibility, you would say, well, I'm now in a company with negative colleagues and a bad work environment. So why do you continue working in that environment? Is it their fault that you are going there willingly every single day to get your paycheck? No, it's not their fault. You are in that bad working environment because you are so lazy and so afraid to leave, quit, and find another job, or ideally start your own business. So it is your fault that you're in that shitty environment with those negative people and you're suffering that pain. It is your fault. You might be an entrepreneur working for yourself and you're just working with some clients. It's like, dude, man, I hate these clients that I'm working with. It's not your client's fault that you are working with them and you're feeling negative. Why in the world are you still working with clients that make you feel bad? So fire those clients and start looking for new ones. You're saying, well, it's kind of difficult to look for new clients, man. I mean, like, it's a bad economy. Well, shut up, because that's actually your fault. It isn't your client's fault that he's mean. It is your fault that he is mean and you still continue working with him because you're too damn lazy to find new clients. You're in a relationship and your partner is abusive or negative. It's like, man, my life is so bad because my wife or my husband or my children are just so mean. Well, let's think about your relationships. If you really are in a relationship and if your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend is really mean, then I'm sorry, why are you in that relationship? Why are you feeling bad every single day in that relationship and you're still in that relationship? Whose fault it is? Of course it's your fault, because if you really took responsibility, either you try to solve your problem with your spouse, with your partner, or you would simply say, okay, I had it, I will find a new partner. But guess what? You don't do that because you're lazy, because you're afraid that you can't find someone else who will love you more. And because of that, you stay in that abusive relationship. And guess what? It is your fault that you are feeling bad, not your partner. Maybe you're in a bad economy right now. It's like, you see, Dan, I've been unemployed for a long time, and all of it is because of my government. These guys are incompetent leaders, and they can't help me feel good. I've been unemployed for 6 months. I've lost my skills, blah, 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 blah. Excuse me. You cannot blame your government for having financial problems because you, if you're living in the modern world, you have an option. And the option is to move and work in another country. You have the option of mobility. You can move and study in a foreign country. I don't know, start a business in a new country. You can move out. The point is, if you are feeling bad, it's not your government's fault. It is your fault. You should blame yourself for not taking action to move to a different country. The point is this. I just gave you a few examples here, but I'm pretty sure you get my point. And the point is simple. Whenever you feel bad, negative, upset, depressed, angry, hopeless, it is no one's fault but your own. And the reason that you are basically feeling that negative emotion that you're currently feeling is because you are not taking responsibility for your life. Because you always have a choice. And that choice is to make a change in your life to feel better. And if you're not making that choice, if you're not working hard to realize that decision, then obviously you have to put up with negative emotions. And you know what people do in most cases when they have no desire or no initiative to actually take action to change their lives? That's right, they start blaming. So damn, why do people blame? Because blaming works. Sorry, man. When you're blaming other people that actually help you to feel better, although in a very pathetic way, and of course in a very, shallow and, temporary way. Because when you start blaming other people, you feel somehow good. Like, you see, I'm feeling like shit today, not because I have not taken the initiative to actually design a good life, but because of my wife or because of my husband or because of my, teacher or because of my government or because of my parents. And that temporarily gives you a relief. Because if somebody's like, dude, listen, this is not your fault, it becomes a lot easier to tolerate that bad situation. You're like, well, it's, you're right. My life is in deep shit right now, and I'm a shitless nobody, but you know what? It's not really my fault. I had a bad childhood. And temporarily, you feel good. Because for now, you're relieved of all responsibilities, and at least you say, well, I was right. It's not my fault. No, you're not. It is your fault. If your life sucks, it means that you suck. And if you want to change that, you better stop blaming others or look for excuses and start to take action so that your life stops sucking all the friggin' time. So that is what we call taking responsibility for your life. Because if your life sucks, it means you suck. And if this hurts your ego a little bit, please trust me, this is good. Because a lot of us, unfortunately, have been living with lies and self-deceptions for so long that somebody like Daniel should come and wake us up. Because unfortunately, if I don't wake you up right now, you might continue blaming others for your shitty life and continue to live in this manner without ever achieving true happiness or true success. And if you're listening right now, it is my mission to help you stop this destructive and useless path in life and instead start to live your dreams. Because if you are someone that you listen to this podcast, you probably know me at some level or you've heard about me. And this means that I care about you because you are someone that I know. And because of this, I have one message for you. Please stop blaming other people for your problems, for your difficulties. If your life is not good, it is no one's fault but your own. And because of this, you need to stop blaming others. Damn it, stop blaming others, even blaming your past. I had a very terrible childhood. In my childhood, my father beat me all the time. Dude, show me one person with a very happy, great childhood. I told you earlier, 85% of the families are technically dysfunctional in some point. Now, in some families, they're dysfunctional because the parents are too mean and they beat their children and they're very bad. In some families, they're dysfunctional because the parents just spoil the fucking children because they're always giving them whatever they want. And these kids never understand the importance of working hard to get what they want. So either way, whatever childhood you had, if your parents spoiled you by so much attention and love and caring, or if they actually really were mean with you, that's still all in the past. You have a chance to start over from today. whatever situation you find yourself in. I mean, I just gave you a couple examples right now in this program, but it really doesn't matter what the situation is. Whatever situation you find yourself in, it is always your fault, even if it's not your fault. It is always your fault, even if it's not your fault. Why is that? Because that's more effective. Because people who believe that whatever happens to them is their fault will always be happier and more successful than those who are not. If you are in a relationship with a man or woman who makes you feel bad, it is your fault. You're saying, well, but my husband has a drinking problem, or my wife is very angry. It is your fault. You're saying, well, why? I didn't make him an alcoholic. I didn't make my wife to be so mean. It is your fault. Why? Why is it my fault? Because you're in that relationship in the first place. Why did you get into a fucking relationship with that man or woman in the first place? And more importantly, why are you still in that goddamn relationship? It is your fault. You're saying, well, Dan, I was working so hard and suddenly the economy took a turn for the worst and now I'm losing all my money. The inflation rate is really killing me. Life is terrible. It's not my fault. It's the government's fault. It is your fault. Well, why? I did not, cause the inflation. I didn't cause all these political problems. No, it is your fault. Why in the fucking world are you still in that one job? Why haven't you already started creating second income opportunities, third income opportunities? Why haven't you started saving earlier on to have some cash in the bank just for these rainy days? Why haven't you even tried to start a new business in a different country? I'm so sorry, but whatever you say about your personal life or your professional life, I will always tell you one thing. If your life sucks, it means that you suck. Now, this might be a little bit difficult to swallow because it's very tough, but I have a good news as well. And here's the good news. So far, I gave you the mean, sad, but true story. Now, let me give you the good news. The good news is that if your life sucks, and if that you suck right now, it doesn't mean that you cannot be awesome in a few days, months, or years if you start taking action, if you try to change yourself. Past does not equal the future. If your life sucked, and if you sucked for 10 years, for 20 years, for 50 years, it doesn't mean that you have to continue in that way. And it doesn't mean that you can't become awesome and turn your life around and make it better in the future. And that's the good news. The good news is personal development and personal transformation. You have a choice, and you can change yourself, you can change your life, and you can take action in order to move towards a better destination. But that's only possible if you stop blaming others and if you start taking responsibility for your life and for the path that you want to take in life, because it's ultimately your fault. If you don't like it, it's your fault, even if it's not your fault. If you just mastered this lesson of success, then you will never have to worry about anything ever again. This is the most important, perhaps, lesson of success and personal transformation, because without it, it is almost impossible to make any long-term progress, because at some point something will go wrong and then you start blaming someone else. Oh my gosh, it's again my clients, it's my parent, whatever. And that inner dialogue will keep going. So from now on, guys, if you really want to change your life, let us make a vow to never, ever blame others for our problems. And instead, let us all take responsibility for our lives. Because in the end, nobody cares as much about your life and your success and your happiness as you do. This is a fact of life. No one cares about your success and happiness more than you do. And because of that, it is your responsibility to start taking action. And I hope that this message that I actually helped to convey through this podcast will give you the right amount of motivation to start taking action and stop the destructive path of self-hate and blaming others and negativity, because that will lead to nowhere. You have a choice. You're alive and you have a choice. You either make the choice of self-transformation and initiative, or you continue blaming other people for your problems. And only one of these choices can actually help you achieve your goals. And I really hope that after having listened to this program, you will make the right choice. You will stop blaming others and you will start taking action in order to change your life, to turn it around, and to achieve all the goals that you want for yourself. That's all the time we have for. Thank you very much for tuning in. And hopefully, from now on, you will start taking action. So guys, stop blaming, damn it. Start living and start changing your life. My name is Daniel Mulligan, and this was the solo edition of Beyond the Present podcast. Have a good one.